Good morning. I do apologize. We're live. We're 30 minutes late going live. Um, I've had it with this streaming platform. Windows did an update which completely destroyed our streaming platform, which we use StreamYard. I do not know why. Could not add myself to I could add guests, but I couldn't add the host to the first broadcast I set up. I do apologize. It is technical problem beyond my control. I rebooted my system, did everything we could do to get everything moving. Would not work. So I had to just delete the other broadcast and start from scratch. And it just, I've had it. I've had it. We're going to move somewhere else. We're going to do something else. And be a bit of a learning curve, but hey, we're going to do it. This is too many technical problems. Just too many technical problems. Every time Windows does an update or StreamYard does an update, they can't do it without destroying everything. I don't even notice. I don't even have the full background. For some reason, it wouldn't load the background proper. You see the logo and all the other. Just I've had it. But anyways, let's talk about what we came here to talk about today. Let's dig into it. Let's get to work. All righty, let's do this then. Let's go. Let's do it. To set the tone, I want to just give you a little taste of what's going on, just how horrible these people are. I want kudos to Gorilla Girl Tactics 7 over on TikTok. She put together this super cut, and Raider shared it to us on Blue Sky. I just we're going to talk about something really freaking serious, and you've got to know the type of people we're talking about. Exactly the type of people we're talking about. But yeah, this is a super cut of Trump and the way he talks to female reporters.
Let me finish what I said. You are the worst. You're with Bloomberg, right? You are the worst. I don't know why they even have you.
Why not?
Quiet. Fake news. You say that, girl, and just fake news.
Why would the Department of Defense?
Listen, be quiet. Listen. You don't listen. You never listen. That's why you're second grade. What he did, well, you don't know much about crypto. You know nothing about nothing. You're fake news. But let me
do it now.
It's not the question that I mind. It's your attitude. I think you are a terrible reporter. It's the way you ask these questions. You start off with a man who's highly respected, asking him a horrible, insubordinate, and just a terrible question. And you could even ask that same exact question nicely. You're all psyched up. Somebody psychs you over at ABC. You're going to psych it. You're a terrible person and a terrible reporter. Oh, fake news, CNN? Oh, yeah. Here we go. Wait till you hear this question.
Thank you, sir.
You should really say how great. Who are you with?
And the same to you, Mr. President.
No, who are you with?
I'm with ABC.
You get the idea, right? I mean, there's 3 minutes of this. I mean, it's the supercut is 3 minutes long of just one attack after another, and it's always female reporters, always female reporters. He talks to them like shit. He does. He's He's just not a good guy. I got the whole 3 minutes for you. I'll play it for you if you want it. But this is who we're talking about. This is a picture of him at Mar-a-Lago, I believe day before yesterday. I keep telling you, this guy is pudding for brains. He is dying right in front of us, literally dying right in front of us. And he's just a gross individual to begin with. He is horrible. He's just a horrible human being, and he's surrounded by horrible human beings, and they just do horrible things. You remember, this is Admiral Linda Fagan, Commandant of the Coast Guard. Look at those medals on her chest, man. I mean, you talk about, if you look at her career and you say, hey, who do I want to be Commandant of the Coast Guard? Her career, her resume, if you just didn't even know her, didn't look at her, didn't see her, nothing, they didn't give you a name, gender, nothing. You just said, this is the resume. This is who you want to run the Coast Guard. But no, she's female, so we can't have that. You get Pete Kegbreath in there, and Donald Trump, and they're just calling out the leadership of our military because they don't want decency. They don't want good people. They don't. So what do? They evict her from her house. This is the house. We've talked about this before. If you are senior leadership in our military, or the senior leadership of a branch of our military, we give you a house, and a nice one. And it comes with a staff. I'm talking, this house comes with butlers and cooks and maids, and I mean, this is on Joint Base Anacostia Bowling. This is where Linda Fagan lived, because it's a 24/7 job. It is the kind of job where you are on the road at a heartbeat. You need your family taken care of. We do that. We make sure you're taken care of. These executive positions in our military, we make sure that they have no concerns. They don't worry about getting a car fixed. They don't worry about the day-to-day concerns that you and I have about fixing a light, or making sure the meals are cooked. We make sure they are focused on their damn job 24/7. So we give them this nice house, huh? I think it's quite good looking, to be quite honest with you. I really do. But of course, the minute Linda Fagan was taken out of her leadership position, they evicted her immediately. So, all right. I guess her replacement, Kevin Lundy, he's the new guy, the FNG. The if you know what FNG means, he's the new guy, Admiral Kevin Lundy. Of course, we're going to give him this house, right? I mean, because we want him on the job 24/7, right? I mean, we want this guy focused. He's the new head honcho. He gets the new digs, right? No. ET says, I bet some coffee that he is already seated, and the reporters were trundled in and out while he sat the whole time. I'm guessing May. Trump is crap. He's just a crap individual. Lame Duck Donnie. That's my new cup, by the way. Lame Duck Donnie. Lame. I love that cup. I'll show it when I'm on the full screen. I'll show it to you. But no, Kevin Lundy doesn't get those digs. Who gets the digs? Turkey Neck. Turkey Neck gets those digs. That's right. A civilian employee, the head of the Department of Homeland Security, who does not, we don't do that. We give the president a place. We give the vice president a place. Yeah. But the vice president lives at the Naval Observatory. Nice place also. Full staff. President lives at the White House, of course. We don't give the cabinet houses. We don't do that. If you're going to serve this government, it's a job. It's a job, just like everybody else. We expect you to pay rent. No. Not Turkey Neck, not Puppy Killer, not Christy Doan. Soon as they fired Linda Fagan, puppy killer moved her. And if I had to guess, I would say her boyfriend, because her and her husband, on the rocks. I mean, the fact that she constantly travels with her gross ass boyfriend everywhere, probably living on our dime in this house also for free. That's who these people are. That's who these people are. By the way, that's a new cup, by the way. I love this. Lame Duck Donnie. Sorry about the reflection. I love this thing. That's hilarious. That is hilarious. That took me all day to do, by the way. That took me all day. But yeah, that's who we're talking about. And it just never gets any better. It never, we talked about the 28-point peace plan, the fact that went straight from Russia to Steve Witkoff. And Trump just took Russia's plan and said, here, this is your peace plan, Ukraine. It's worse. We find out it's worse. And it's always worse with these people. It's never a good thing. It's always worse. Wall Street Journal bombshell. Mediaite spreading that around like crazy. If you're like me and you don't pay a subscription to the Wall Street Journal, you can go to Mediaite and read this article. But yeah, Witkoff met with Kirill Dmitriev. Let's get those sanctions lifted. Let's free up your money. No peace deal on the table. Putin hasn't done shit. He's still murdering Ukrainians. But yeah, let's send our people over to sit down, have a meeting about how we can just 100% get you your money back. Let's get you your money back. Not just we took your peace plan, which isn't a peace plan. It's just a Russian wish list. We're going to talk about this right here. We're going to talk about this right here. But we're going to also immediately start putting pressure on Europe to get rid of sanctions so that Russia can have their money back. I mean, these are the worst people, and they're terrible at their job. New West Bill, her new home in the future will be concrete and steel. I'm telling you, these people are something else, man. Are something else. So of course, you just keep going with it. Trump being Trump, tacos out and shit blows up in his face, and we found out where the peace deal came from, and yada yada yada. And Trump says, "Well, no, that's not my peace deal. That's not my peace deal. No. That was just a map. That was just a map. That was just a map we sent over to Ukraine. We're talking about it. We're negotiating. We're making the deal. That wasn't my peace plan." After a week solid of denying denying its origins, denying that Witkoff was given a wish list by Russia and that Trump just adopted it and wrote his name on it and said, "Oh, no, this was our plan, our ideas, our everything." Think about little Marco and how incompetent and weak that dude has to be to go from, "Oh, yeah, senators, don't worry about this. This was just something given to Witkoff. We're not really selling out Ukraine," to standing up in front of a camera and saying, "I never said that to those senators. They're just lying. That's 100% our peace plan," only to have dumbass Donnie yesterday step out in front of reporters and say, "It was just a map. It was just a map. It was never anything. It was just a concept. It was not a peace plan." I mean, that's who these people freaking are. It's like any resistance they meet whatsoever, anybody says, "Oh, that's a bad idea." It's the way he was talking to those reporters. You just ask a tough question and he attacks you. They're just weak, nasty people. All of them. Jordan B. Miller. The world no longer trusts the United States. That is a big problem. That is a big problem, and we're headed to it. William G. Atheist, thank you for being here all the time, brother. Donnie wanted to name the Gulf of Mexico after himself. He found out the Bay of Pigs was taken. Talking about the Bay of Pigs, man. Oh my God, where we are headed right now is just crazy. Just crazy. So you got Trump blowing up drug boats. And this just blew up all over the news. I did a video of this on my social media. We need to dig into this. You know, that first drug boat that they were so proud of that they just said, well, they didn't show you all the video. They were proud to show tons of video of this boat being destroyed, but they didn't show you all the video. They blow up the boat. Of course, the Reaper drone. This is what they blew the boat up with. There's an MQ-9 Reaper drone. This is the MQ-9 Reaper drone. That's firing a Hellfire missile. That's how they blew up that boat. And this is how it shook out. This is Trinidad and Tobago. Let's go to the map. We're going to go back and forth on the map a few times today because it's important. This is Trinidad and Tobago, independent nation off the coast of Venezuela. It's important for drug trafficking, but because of the way drug trafficking works. We're gonna get into that in detail. We're going to break it all down so you can understand exactly what bullshit this is, what we're literally talking about. Even if you gave them what they claimed it to be, let's say that little bitty old speedboat was just crammed to the gills with drugs, which they did not prove. Still a crime to blow it up. And the reason it was headed to Trinidad and Tobago is the route in which drugs head out into the world. I need you to put a pin in that. And the way this attack happened, and I'll just give you the cliff notes of it. The way this attack happened is you had SEAL Team 6 on the beach on Trinidad and Tobago watching this boat. They illuminated it so that the Reaper drone could target it, and the Reaper drone blew it up. Smoke clears. There are survivors in the water. That's the part of the video they didn't show you. There are survivors in the water. So this guy, 1 second. This guy, Admiral Mitch Bradley, gives the order, kill him, fire another missile. Yeah. This guy, who's in tactical control of this mission, he's sitting on the east coast of the United States watching this on a feed, sees there are people alive in the water, and he doesn't say, okay, go get them. No, he kills them, fires another missile and kills them. Folks, not giving quarter to a defeated enemy, even if you gave them everything, even if you said, okay, everything they did was legal, which it wasn't, that act right there, that double tap attack, is a severe war crime. That's tantamount to killing prisoners of war. That's where we're at. And he said he did it because he had a verbal order from Pete Hegseth that there be no survivors. Two people spoke to the Washington Post, have said that's the way it happened, man. Pete Hegseth said no survivors whatsoever. Look, the attacks on these boats are a crime in and of themselves. They are. They are. It is no different than saying, okay, we think this van has drugs in it, and the cops posting up on an overpass with a machine gun and just riddling the van full of bullets while the van is just driving down the highway, making no attempt to interdict it, to arrest them, nothing. All they do is just straight up murder everybody in the van. Folks, that's murder. That's murder, any way you cut it. There's no due process. We are not at war with these people. So a lot of people keep making the point, hey, it's not a war crime if you're not at war. Yeah, but it's murder. It's murder. And there's no evidence whatsoever. This government cannot stand up and provide an ounce of evidence that was an actual drug boat. They can't. They can't even tell you who they killed. There's a reason we interdict these boats. And they're just freaking awful people. Well, do you hear that noise, that beeping noise? Do you hear that beeping noise? Yeah, that's the bus backing up over Admiral Bradley. Yeah. It's one thing to sit and talk tough and be a Fox News stooge idiot put into a job that you're completely unqualified for. But it's another thing when the lawyers walk into the room and tell you, yeah, that was kind of murder. What you ordered right there, that was a crime. You hear that beeping noise? That's the bus backing up over Admiral Bradley because Pete Hegseth says, I authorized a lethal attack. I did not tell them to kill those people. I didn't. No. Of course, Admiral Bradley says, hey, he said no survivors. That's who these people are. They're just awful, awful people. And they're not even doing this for the reasons they're telling you they're doing it. Pablo Nolan, unlawful kill against UCMJ, Uniform Code of Military Justice, unlawful order. The admiral should have disobeyed. He should have. All the way down to SEAL Team 6. They're all guilty of this. They're all guilty. All of them. LJ Jones, super sticker. Thank you. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you for supporting the show. Christopher Daly, thanks for making a hullabaloo about this. These boat strikes are simply murder. Yeah. But it's leading somewhere. It's going somewhere. It's not just about these boat strikes. Like I said, these are television people. Donald Trump is the reality TV administration. This isn't about interdicting drugs or stopping drugs. Michael LaRosa, the doublespeak of this administration, they want it both ways. They want to claim we are at war against the cartels, but then backpedal like mad when there is talk of war crimes. Yeah. E.T., not only a war crime, but that also violates maritime law, the law of the sea. Yeah. This was horrible, and in every facet, in every way. New West bill, time is not on the side for international war criminals. They can be tried and convicted. Yeah, they can. They can. You can't pardon for international crimes. You can't. You just can't. But to sit there and say, "Oh, it's about drugs," we're fighting narco terrorists, is what they keep saying. No, that's not what this is about. Not at all. Not at all. And it's not what it's about. But let me introduce you to somebody. This is Ross Ulbricht. And you people are so smart, you probably know who Ross Ulbricht is. He ran a dark web, marketplace called the Silk Road. He was a drug dealer, straight up. You could buy all kinds of nasty shit on the Silk Road, including stolen identities, all different kinds of drugs. I mean, you could buy, just about anything horrible that's sanctioned, you could buy on the Silk Road. We tried and convicted the guy. We sent him to jail for it. Trump just pardoned him. Trump just pardoned him. And people are asking the question, was it a bribe? Did he pay something? Did he pay something? Mr. Will said, this was in my humble opinion, the Dems knew this was a war crime. The Dems knew it was a war crime. They planned it perfectly to roll it out to the public with Mark Kelly to sell it. Dems have a victory plan. Well, yeah, they knew it was they knew a war crime was committed 100%. You're talking about the video. You're talking about that the Democrats had been made aware that this war crime had happened, and that they timed this video because they knew war crimes were going on. I totally agree with you there. Someone else that absolutely knew that war crimes were being committed, this guy. Y'all remember we talked about on the show Admiral Alvin Halsey. Just abruptly, he was this was the naval commander in charge, the naval admiral in charge. There's no other. The admiral in charge of Southcom abruptly resigned and walked out. About mid-October, just said, "I'm out of here." Well, now we know why. What did we say in that show? Boy, some shit's going to come out. This guy didn't just quit for no reason. The shit is coming out. Katy Perry, thank you for being here. I'm so sick of this administration. It turns my stomach every day, makes my heart hurt with all they get away with, and yet there are people in jail for much less. Amen to that. Amen to that. If you were a special agent or something like that and did a fraction of the shit these people did, you would already be in prison. Already. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about the narrative that they're spinning. There's this guy. This is Juan Orlando Hernandez. Juan Orlando Hernandez, who's the former president of Venezuela. We arrested this guy. Yeah. We arrested this guy. We sent him to prison. The president of Venezuela, we arrested him and sent him to prison. 100% we did that. He was arrested and convicted for taking bribes and assisting in the trafficking of 400,000 pounds of cocaine. Did I say Venezuela? I'm in Honduras. I'm sorry. My bad. I'm in Honduras. My bad. I'm frustrated and agitated with the software program this morning. Forgive me. Did I say Venezuela? My bad. Yeah, we just cut him loose. So it's not about drugs. It's not about stopping the flow of drugs. It's not. And it's not just these pardons, folks. It's not just these pardons. And thank you, folks, for being on that. I really appreciate you. I love you guys so much. I really do. Thanks for your truth. Happy Tuesday. Thank you. I appreciate you. Did you forget the catheter on the new? Jordan, you're something else, man. You're something else. It's not about the drugs. You don't sit there and say, "Oh, we want to stop the flow of drugs," and then sit there and pardon some of the worst drug dealers we've ever busted. You don't. And I love the fact that you people are here and so on top of things. I want to show you a map. They're saying it's about, we got narco terrorists in Venezuela. We got to stop that. They don't grow or process cocaine in Venezuela, right? They don't. They don't grow or process cocaine in Venezuela. There's a reason for that, and it's called Mother Nature. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Mr. Pilks, it's chaos on steroids every day in this administration, all to cover for the Epstein files. Yep. It's because he is falling down a freaking hole and he's corrupt, and he just wants to do anything he can do to try to distract from his failures and the fact that he is neck deep in the Epstein file. This is from our DEA. This is a map for the public of a general explanation of the trafficking of cocaine. The arrows aren't exactly accurate, so don't take more thickness of the arrows to mean more product. That's not exactly how this works. But you see Venezuela here? And how, that line goes across there? They don't manufacture cocaine or fentanyl. They keep talking about fentanyl. They don't manufacture fentanyl either. They can't even grow coca. Let me explain this map a little bit. You see that, and you see how these arrows go to Europe when you start talking about Venezuela and the area down here around Suriname and Guyana. You see these, how this is Europe's market, not really ours. The majority of the stuff that's going to the United States is coming directly out of Colombia, and more specifically, Western Colombia through Mexico. So what are we talking about with blowing these drug boats up in the Caribbean? I mean, what is that all about? Because it sure as the hell not about, just by looking at this, just the standard flow of the way these drugs fly, the way they're trafficked. This isn't about drugs. It's not the interdiction. And I brought receipts. Shortness 3,000. Trump and his cronies should be in the Guinness Book of World Records for the most crimes committed per day. The amount of crimes committed is mind-boggling. I agree with you 100%. Hello, Robin DeHood. Good to see you. Good to see you. Glad to see a new hat. Looks great. Thanks. It's not a new hat. I've had this hat for over a year, but thank you. People keep telling me that. Must look good. Must look good. But look, this is, one second, let me pull this up for you. Oh boy. But no, this is let me kill this, erythroxylum coca. This is where cocaine comes from. This is the coca plant. It actually grows wild in certain areas in South America, but this is a cultivated, of course, you can tell this is cultivation. They don't have this in Venezuela. It doesn't grow there. This is why when they say, well, we're trying to stop narco terrorists or drug manufacturing and drug cartels, it's bullshit. Coca does not grow there at all. Coca grows in a elevation of about 2,000 to 5,000 feet, and it needs continual moisture. That's why it grows in Colombia and Bolivia on the west side of the Andes. It's all about Mother Nature. That's why they have this. And this notion that they've got to do something special. Have you ever been in an airplane and been flying along and you look down and you can see the farm fields and you can see like the circles where they do the irrigation, and you can spot these things from a freaking jet airplane from thousands and thousands of feet in the air, right? You've seen this before. Everybody that's flown has looked out the window and you can see the farmland, right? You can spot it. The notion that this is somehow mystifying, it's bullshit. It really is bullshit. I just want to take a few minutes just to punch the whole war on drugs in the throat. These are coca fields. They stand out like sore thumbs against this is the Amazon jungle. This is the Amazon fed jungle where coca grows on the west slopes of the Andes. There's a reason that it grows. Let's go to the map here. You've heard of things like the Medellin cartel. Medellin. Medellin is a city in Colombia. It's about elevation of about 5,000 feet. What makes it the hub for this cartel is that coca grows all around it. You've also heard of the Cali cartel. Again, a lot of coca production there, a lot of coca growth there. You can see the spine of the Andes Mountains here. But it's also the gateway to the port of Buenaventura, which is that where you saw the arrows going out that went to Mexico and to Asia. This is the port. Buenaventura is the port that the cocaine ships out of. And folks, this is not like mystifying like they try to make it out to be. It's just not. If you look at this port, this is a really simple thing here. You see these bulk container ships and these ships at the top here. These are container ships, and then these are bulk ships over here. They just load up the cocaine and ship it out. And it gets to the port, and some of it gets caught, some of it doesn't. It's not magical or mystifying. They're not traipsing through the jungle, looking through, all the shit that you see in Hollywood about this war on drugs is bullshit. And let me just illuminate to you what we're talking about here. Okay. When they were talking about Hernandez, he said he smuggled $400,000 worth, or 400,000 pounds of drugs. That sounds like a lot, right? Well, let's just look at it. You take 400,000 pounds, divide it by 2,200 to get metric tons. That's 1,800 metric tons. That sounds like a lot, right? I mean, that's a lot. And but you got to divide that by 8 years because he was in power by 8 years. So you're talking about 227 metric tons of cocaine per year. Folks, the annual production of cocaine in Colombia, wild guess, how many metric tons of cocaine do you think Colombia produces in a year? Wild guess. Let me see it in the chat. Wild guess. How many? Millions? We got 100 metric tons, 3 million metric tons, millions of metric tons, 5,000. Now we're getting closer. 5 million, 50 metric tons. Now it's a bit more than that. It's 3,000 metric tons per year. To give you a reference, something to reference, how much coffee do you think Colombia produces in metric tons per year? Wild guess. Come on, folks. Wild guess. How much coffee do you think they produce? Just to give you an idea of the scale of what we're talking about and how this whole war on drugs thing is just bullshit. It's just really bullshit. We're going to run through, I'm going to finish running through how it works. Chandrapat, so glad we have you to tell them the truth. Hey, I'm glad to be here, man. I'm glad to be here. 1,000 metric tons, 10,000 metric tons. To give you an idea of the scale of the reference of what we're talking about, 600 million, man, you're out there, brother. 12,000 metric tons, 500,000 metric. Now we're in the neighborhood. It is 800,000 metric tons of coffee that Colombia produces every year and ships out. Now they're producing 3,000 metric tons of cocaine. Are you starting to see how this cocaine is really just not that big. Now, dollar-wise, it's huge. It's huge. Why? Because if you go to Colombia and uh, you buy a kilo of coffee in Colombia to ship out, it's going to run you about $10 to $18, depending on where you buy it and what you're buying exactly. Bruce Barrows, my frustration is increasing in that why won't the World Court, the UN, or anybody with a backbone stop this crap, including ICE? The midterms are a year away and a whole lot more damage can be done. Bruce, I got something for you on that, man. I do. I've got, stick with me, okay? And don't let me forget to circle back around to it, Bruce. If I don't do it, if I don't talk to you directly about that and talk to you about how we stop this, remind me, and I will before the show's over. Warbin 3, is Trump trying to provoke a war with Venezuela by blowing up these? Yes, he is. He is 100%. Not just blowing up the boats. He just did this. He just did this. Unilaterally declared to all airlines, pilots, drug dealers, and human traffickers, please consider the airspace above and surrounding Venezuela to be closed in its entirety. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Yeah, folks, Venezuela is a country that is larger than Texas. It is. It is a country that is, it's somewhere between Texas and Alaska. That's how big this freaking country is. No, he didn't just close. Let's go back to the map. He didn't just close off the airspace above this militarily or anything like that. But that declaration caused every airline in every nation to wave off. If you look at the FAA traffic over Venezuela yesterday, there's a giant hole over the country of Venezuela. This is Venezuela. You see it right here, and this is Venezuela. If you look at the FAA maps, Colombia had air traffic, Guyana had air traffic, Suriname had air traffic, but there was a giant vortex over the center of Venezuela where no planes flew because that idiot made that declaration. Did they do it militarily? No. Venezuela is larger than the state of Texas. The military was like, what? We have no plans in shutting down all air traffic in Venezuela. I mean, do you understand the size of the operation that it would take, the number of aircraft, the military commitment it would take to shut down all air traffic over an area larger than the state of Texas? Yeah, no, this was just him talking out his ass. And just by talking out his ass, he literally affected commercial markets around the world. But look, I want to circle back to the cocaine for a second. Some of it is sent through Venezuela. This is the Orinoco Basin, the Orinoco River Basin. Okay? This is the Orinoco River Basin, Rio Orinoco. And it runs along the border of Colombia and Venezuela with tributaries that come in. You've got the you got the Mira River that meets the Orinoco right here. Let me back out so that you can see. I'm bouncing around on the map, but you see it kind of slices Venezuela in half. I thought that was cool as shit because I love that song Orinoco Flow. But yeah, this is the Orinoco River. Drugs are smuggled eastward. If you go back to that map that I was showing you about the way drugs are trafficked, okay? And I'm going to be completely accurate with you here, folks. Completely accurate. When I say they produce 3,000 metric tons, that's pure cocaine. All right? But you see this map where like all of this is going to Europe and Africa. Yeah, they will send some of the drugs through Venezuela, but not much. It's a small fraction of what they overall manufacture. And the reason they do it, I'm talking about coffee versus cocaine, you'd think coffee would be incredibly more valuable, but it's not. They do about $3 billion worth of coffee sales a year. Cocaine is 15 to 18 billion. And they're selling so much less of it because what they produce in Colombia is pure, unadulterated cocaine. But every stop that it makes when they ship it out, for instance, they destroyed that boat that was going to Trinidad and Tobago. The reason it was going to Trinidad and Tobago was in preparation to be put on a ship to be sent to Europe. You see all of those arrows going to Europe. And folks, another misconception is America is the biggest market for cocaine, and we are not their fattest green. Cocaine is much more expensive in Europe than it is in the United States. That's just another misconception that is out there. But let's just give it to them. Let's say that boat that they blew up was a drug boat. Okay? Let's go back to the map. Let's look at Trinidad and Tobago. Remember, the SEAL Team 6 was here off the coast of Venezuela in Trinidad and Tobago. They were on the beach here when they blew up that drug boat. Okay? Why was it going here? Because this is how drugs are trafficked. Venezuela isn't a major shipper of drugs. They island hop those drugs to places like Trinidad and Tobago, or they come down here. You see, there's Georgetown in Guyana, the port of Georgetown. Let me zoom in here to like Georgetown. And this is a port, but not the major port. If you go take a look at this, zoom into the river here, you can see all of these docks off the river. And remember, we're only talking about 3,000 metric tons at this point. This is the pure stuff showing up at these docks. But you see all of these docks. If you're smuggling drugs, you can drive a truck in here. I mean, this isn't the shit that you see in Hollywood. You can just drive a truck in here. Or in this case, put it on a little fishing boat and zip down the coast and drop it off on one of these docks. And then they will get it into a large shipment. They'll put it in a shipping container, put it into a large container ship on one of these docks, and it's not a massive amount. So it's not that hard to disguise. But this isn't the biggest port. Georgetown isn't the biggest port. If you go down here to Suriname, Suriname, a lot of people haven't even heard of. But you go down here to Paramaribo, this port is just a massive drug haven for Europe and Africa in the Suriname River. And it is, again, you've just got a river that you just got to drive a boat up and park at any one of these docks. There are docks all up and down this, and a bulk container ship will be loaded. You see, you recognize these boats, these little boats? They're all over this river. These tiny little boats are all over this river. It doesn't stand out anywhere. And that's how it works, folks. I mean, this isn't super mystifying like they like to make it out to be. It's a relatively small amount of product. It's not like coffee where you're moving 800,000 metric tons of the stuff at any one time. So yeah, I mean, this whole idea that this is about drugs is stupid. It's a relatively small amount of the drugs coming out of Colombia. And it's just not that big a deal. This whole war on drugs is just insane. It's just insane. And we create the violence around it because, again, compare it to coffee. You've never heard of a coffee cartel. There's no violence between shipping coffee it's the money. We force them to deal in cash. It's stupid policy, just stupid policy. And we'll get into more into that later. But I hope you can see this really isn't about drugs in Venezuela. Venezuela is just not that much of what they're shipping. Colombia ships north. This is where, back to the map one more time. I just want to hammer this point home. There are 2 ports in Colombia. Let me back out. This is Colombia. You see Bogota in the center. Zoom in, go up here to Cartagena. Cartagena is a massive port. This is where your drugs that are going to Miami and New York and Barranquilla is another one, but most of it goes through Cartagena. And you can zoom in, you can see the docks in Cartagena where they're just like every other product. All they have to do, you see these massive, here's the cruise terminal. You see these massive docks, containers all over them. They just pull up a ship next to it and load their container with the rest of them. But yeah, it's not about going through Venezuela. Most of it doesn't. Cartagena is one major port. The port that most of the cocaine coming to the United States goes through is down here. Remember we talked about the Cali cartel and their location to Buenaventura? Buenaventura is the major port for cocaine going to Asia and to America. It gets shipped out of here to Mexico and then brought in through like the Sinaloa cartel. Again, more to do with where they're located. The Buenaventura ports. We looked at that earlier. You've got the cargo ships. They just slap it on there and they send it up here to Mexico. So you're getting the idea, right? I mean, this is really not about drug interdiction. If we can just see Sinaloa, Mexico. This is where they get their name from. The cocaine leaves Colombia through Buenaventura, and it ends up being unloaded here in Sinaloa, and then it's run north through the desert and smuggled in across our southern border, in which it branches out all over. If they want to get it to the East Coast, they send it through Cartagena. Again, not anything to do with these drug boats. That is just a small fraction of this. And then Trump is turning around and he's pardoning major drug dealers. So this is nothing to do with the introduction. And I know I hammered this to death. I know I did. And I appreciate you sticking with me. But this has nothing to do with the actual interdiction of drugs. And if you have to ask yourself, when you ask yourself, what does it have to do with? The next answer you hear from most people is oil. They're doing it for oil. And I kind of want to punch a hole in that also. Here's where I'm going to tell you you're wrong. It's not the oil. It's not, and I bring receipts. I bring the receipts. The reason this war isn't about oil, there's a couple factors here that you have to look at. Okay. To begin with, you've got this. This is a picture of the Caspian Galaxy. It's from a 2017 article where they were talking about how bad the oil infrastructure is in Venezuela and why people aren't buying Venezuelan oil. When it was unsanctioned, they weren't buying it because it was so expensive. Do you know what this boat is doing right now? You'll never guess it in 1,000 years. You can see the big anchor on the front of it. It is anchored in a port right off the coast of Venezuela. Santista 211, thank you. Hey, Paul, thanks for being the truth to the front. All right, now I appreciate you, man. Good information. We can do anything. We can do anything. We've got good information. This ship is not doing what you think it's doing. It's not. This is what the ship is doing. and why people weren't buying Venezuelan oil. I mean, they have the largest oil reserves in the world, but they're only selling about 800,000 barrels of oil a year. It's just not that much. And this is why. Their oil infrastructure is so decrepit that when ships pull into their terminals, they're literally floating in a sheen of oil. And including China, the US, Europe especially, leads the way on this. You cannot pull into one of these disgusting Venezuelan oil terminals that are just decrepit and broken down and leaking oil everywhere. You can't pull into one of these terminals and just load up and then haul your happy ass to Europe and let your boat covered in oil sit there and deposit the oil sheen all over European harbors. They won't allow it. They'll fine you for it. So that boat was being scrubbed by scuba divers. That's what that boat was doing, moored there. It was being scrubbed with brushes and chemicals by scuba divers. And folks, that ain't cheap. That is not cheap. You're talking a light job on a small boat is about 20 grand. It can run 200 grand. It can run up to $1 million to have one of these ships cleaned off. And there goes your profits from shipping the oil. It's not the oil. And I don't mean just because the Venezuelan infrastructure is in such horrible, horrible shape. There's more to it than that. Let's say Trump does what everybody is saying he's going to do, and he invades Venezuela. There won't be any profits. Trump will be dead from old age and disease before they can restore that oil infrastructure that people are actually buying that oil again. But it's not just that. It's not just that. Folks, here in the United States, we have light crude. Even the stuff that we frack, we have light crude. One second. We've talked about this before. If you're a longtime viewer of the show, we talk about West Texas Intermediate crude. We talk about what's called tight crude. It's what they frack out of the shale, frack out of shale. It's crude that they've got to literally force out of the ground. What we produce here in the United States, about 70% of it is light crude. About 50 to 55% of it is light sweet crude. You're talking about the stuff that comes out of West Texas, and those fields. That is great oil, perfect for refining gasoline. Just fantastic stuff. The rest of it is heavy crude, and we sell a lot of that. The oil that comes out of the ground in Venezuela is heavy crude. It's all heavy crude. Yes, it's the largest oil reserve in the world, but it's meaningless to us because our refineries aren't set up to process it. Our refineries are set up to process light crude. And we have plenty of it. So why would we benefit from a Vietnam-style war? And we're going to talk more about that in just a second. In Venezuela, Because even if we propped up another government, which Trump has never followed through on anything. When anything gets ugly or difficult, he's gone, man. He's gone. He's completely gone. The minute it gets ugly or difficult, he's out of there. So they're going to try to like prop up some government and have that government do the fighting for them. Why would the oil benefit us? We couldn't buy it. I mean, we could buy it, but why would we? We can't use it. So who does it benefit? Who would that benefit as far as the oil is concerned? This freaking guy, he uses a lot of heavy crude. A lot of heavy crude. It's what China and much of Southeast Asia primarily refines. Russia, not Russia. Russia has plenty of its own oil. They don't need it. They wouldn't buy it. It would literally flood the world markets with heavy crude, and the only beneficiaries would be China. No, I'm not assuming he's smart. I'm assuming he's an idiot, Veggie Owl Girl. And this is why I'm telling you, it's not about oil. It's not. It's about something else. It is. It's about something else. And this is what it's about. They call it blue gold. They call it blue gold. What you're looking at here is coltan ore. Coltan, coltan. And they literally call this blue gold. And it's not just blue gold, it's actual gold. And the illegal mining that goes on in the Orinoco Basin. See, right now we're over a barrel for rare earth minerals. We are over a barrel regarding rare earth minerals. And right now you have things like this going on in the Orinoco Basin, and they are just absolutely destroying it because they don't have the infrastructure in place. It's black market, so they don't have the investment for power production and the types of extraction that you would do if you were a first world country with a first world operation. They're using a lot of mercury to do the extraction, which is poisoning the water in the Orinoco River, in the Orinoco River Basin. This is what this war would be about. This is what it would be about. And let me show you the region that we're talking about and what they're after. What they're after. Let's go back to the map. Let's go back to the map in the Orinoco River Basin. Okay. You see Venezuela. You see Colombia and the border in between them. And this river that bisects Venezuela in half, the Orinoco River. You see it hits the border here. From where this river meets in this general area are huge deposits of coltan ore. And you go south and there are even more. And you have these illegal mining operations and extraction operations that are 100% going on. 100%. It's on both the Colombia and the Venezuelan side of the border. And it is a massive problem. It is funded by the same people. The same cartels are doing the same smuggling to get this stuff out. And the reason it is so critical and why I'm telling you they're willing to go in and have a Vietnam style war over it is this isn't about oil. This is about tantalum. This is tantalum. This is what they process out of coltan. And tantalum is hugely important when you talk about technology. Just to give you, I got a brief list here that you've got capacitors and resistors in all your smartphones, computers, any electronics. Every capacitor and resistor that we use today is made with tantalum. Medical implants, because your body actually gets along really well with tantalum. It doesn't reject it. So knee implants, hip implants. It is incredibly heat resistant. So the vanes, you've seen jet engines, the fans, they call the individual fans vane, they're manufactured using tantalum because of the high heat resistance. When you see a rocket take off and you see all of that intense heat controlled by a nozzle, that nozzle is made with tantalum. There's a nuclear reactor, inside nuclear reactors, the high heat fittings and exchanges are made with tantalum. Specialized glasses where you have to have be able to see into a high heat environment. They make specialized glasses with tantalum. This is what they're after in our day and age of AI and the data centers and the digitization of our society. Tantalum is everything. Everything. And I know you're thinking to yourself, okay, rare earth minerals. That's what they're after. There's gold also, by the way. Tin, gold, bauxite, all of these minerals that we use in Venezuela. But they're so corrupt, they can't develop it. No one can do business there. So you end up with the cartels smuggling this stuff out and these just disgusting, polluting operations. And Trump is thinking, man, double win here. I'll be a hero for getting rid of Nicolas Maduro, who everybody hates. And Maduro only has about 20 to 25% support in Venezuela. But I want you to think about this. We're going to go to what this would look like here in just a second. This is Trump's mindset. He's in trouble, man. He's got his what is it, 36%? The economy's failing. He's failed in Ukraine. Every time he turns around, you've got the Epstein files breathing down his neck. He is desperate to do something that somebody somewhere is going to like and pat him on the head and say, oh, you're a good president. Disturbed in Ohio. I'm a little late, but can these war criminals be pardoned by F-47? In the U.S., they can. In the world, no. Not at The Hague. Thank you for all that you do. No, thank you. I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you. I appreciate you being here, and thank you for supporting the show. But that's what this is about. That's what this is about. It is not about oil that we can't use anyways, with an infrastructure that would take probably a good decade to be completely modernized and brought online. It's not about drugs, because they're not hindering even a fraction of what's being sent out. And I want to clarify something. Christy Roybal, thank you, Texas and Mrs. Paul, for all you do. You are wonderful. You're wonderful. I appreciate you. Thank you for supporting the show. They only manufacture 3,000 metric tons of cocaine, but at every point when it gets to Trinidad and Tobago, it's cut and it doubles. And then when it hits where it's going, it's cut again and doubles. And then when it hits the mid-level distributors, it's cut again and doubles. And that 3,000 metric tons doubles and then doubles again and then doubles again and then doubles again, and actually becomes a substantial amount of drugs by the time it hits the streets. So I'm not making light of the actual impact of Colombia, but that has nothing to do with Venezuela. Venezuela is just, the Orinoco Basin is just a highway for it to pass through, is all it is. It's not about drugs. It's not about oil that we cannot use. It's about the rare earth minerals. And Venezuela knows it. You got a picture here of Brigadier General Rafael Olea Quintero is already fighting the cartels, trying to interdict these illegal, polluting, disgusting refining operations on little boats. They're running up and down the Orinoco River, trying to interdict this. But that's what this is about, folks. But it's not going to be the way you think it is. It's not. I want you to think about this. And this is where having an incompetent like Trump is such a disaster, and why this is going to be so bad. Let's start with Maduro. Maduro may be unpopular, but he is not alone. He enjoys the support of 20 to 25% of the population. Mike Daley, the Dim, there are large groups of lawyers that want to challenge the pardon power of the president with the number of horrible people Trump has pardoned. Hope that goes somewhere. It'll have to be a constitutional amendment. They've already laid out that he has the power to do it. It's going to end up having to be a constitutional amendment, and hopefully they'll do it. But yeah, Venezuela has a population of roughly 30 million people, okay? 25% of those support Maduro. The minute we invade, that goes up to about 50%, because it's just like the United States. I hate MAGA, MAGA hates me. But if somebody invaded us, we'd be standing shoulder to shoulder. Now, what they're betting on and betting the farm on is that whoever, when they topple the Maduro regime and he disappears into the jungle, because he's not going to be, we didn't get Saddam Hussein. We had to go find Saddam Hussein. This is not that. This is not the frickin' desert. This is jungle. I mean, jungle. And when he disappears, he's got plenty of support, especially in rural Venezuela, where a lot of this crime is going on. He has support there. Let me pull up some pictures for you of what the Orinoco River Basin looks like. So you get just see if we can find some close-ups so you can kind of see what you'd be fighting in. There we go. I'll open a couple different pictures for you to see. There you go. I appreciate you. This is what the Orinoco River looks like. Tell me this doesn't have throwbacks to Vietnam for you. This is this is what we would be fighting in. What our sons and daughters would be trudging through if we actually invaded Venezuela and tried to kill Maduro. This is not going to be a fast war, and it's not going to be one of those situations where we can just rely on whomever we put in power on winning this for us. It's going to be all over again, just like we had in Vietnam. We will have somebody in power who is not able to maintain power, that we have to constantly provide, men and weapons and money and support continuously. Because remember, we want to mine those minerals. We want companies to move in. This is going to be a long-term commitment in the worst type of terrain. And we've got Trump and Hegseth putting this together. Stancheks, how many lives of both Americans and Venezuelans will this ridiculous conflict cost? Exactly. Too many. Too many. And yeah, my speculation is that it would be worse than Vietnam, to be quite honest with you, because you have massive amounts of arms already in that region. The cartels are armed to the teeth, and we would be fighting in their backyard. And yes, this is where I'm going with this. This is why this is so frustrating. And China is already there. Judith McDonald, 9001. Do you remember the show where we talked about Panama? When Trump was threatening Panama? And I showed you pictures. Let me pull up the port of Cologne for you. Won't take but a second. And I was explaining to you, when I was in Cologne, when I was there, I was looking around. And man, this was a brand new, top of the line, 100%, beautiful, clean, modern port. I mean, this was nice in Cologne, Panama. I mean, you're getting the idea here. These cranes are brand new and they're everywhere. Hundreds of them. I mean, they're just everywhere. And if you remember that show, we talked about how they got them. We talked about how they got them. They got them from this guy. While we're threatening Panama with violence, this guy was building the modern ports on either end of the Panama Canal. This guy floated them low-interest loans to rebuild their power infrastructure across the entire country. And we're threatening to attack them. Same thing with Venezuela, folks. Because this is the part that's going to actually absolutely blow your mind and just frustrate the shit out of you. Okay. We're looking at a Vietnam for coltan ore is what we're looking for. Not tantalum, coltan ore. Because to get tantalum out of coltan ore, you've got to refine it. Barefootery, my tithe for sanity. Thank you, folks. And like I say at the drive up, shout out the people working in the back there. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. I do. Wait for it. This is going to just piss you off to the nth degree. Where do you think tantalum is refined? There are 3 countries that refine it, and there's problems with 2 of them. Where do you think tantalum, which is now in greater and greater and greater demand that we cannot currently meet, where do you think it's refined? I'll answer you before you can Google it. First one is Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan. The problem with Kazakhstan is Russia controls Kazakhstan, and they use all the tantalum that comes out of Kazakhstan. That's number 1, Kazakhstan. So that's not an option for us. We've got all this coltan ore that we've bled, had our people go and die and bleed and spent our money and treasure to secure. We've got this coltan ore. Well, the second one's Germany. Well, that sounds pretty promising, right? We'll take our Colton ore and we'll ship it to Germany and we'll get tantalum. No. They're maxed out and they're expensive, but they're maxed out. They got no room for our additional ore in their manufacturing. And Germany is not really, they don't have a huge appetite for building even more refineries to refine this stuff. And it's expensive because environmental regulations in the EU. So yeah, I mean, even if we did invest to try to help Germany expand their refining capacity, Trump would be long dead before Germany could help us with refining our tantalum. So guess where we'll ship our Colton ore? And who will sell us refined tantalum back? Yep. China. The country that is friends with Maduro. The country that has a diplomatic policy in this region. Yeah. We cannot refine the Colton ore. It has to be sent to Kazakhstan, Germany, or China. Germany and Kazakhstan are off the table, which means that we're going to do this just like we did in Iraq. And this is why I say this is going to piss you off. We're going to do this just like we did in Iraq. For decades. It's going to cost us $1 trillion to get our hands on rare earth minerals that we can't refine ourselves. And it would take a minimum of 5 to 10 years to really get online. And it would be expensive because, building refineries here isn't cheap. But guess what? When we did this in Iraq, guess who got the lion's share of oil contracts in Iraq when we were done? Yep. We invaded Iraq to secure the oil production for oil that we could not buy. And when we were done, Iraq secured the contracts and control the wells. This is what Republicans do. They do things like show drug boats that we don't know that these were just fishing boats. We don't know. We don't know if there were drugs on these boats. They sell to their MAGA people, ooh, we're tough. We're stopping the drugs. That's why we're doing this, man. And they get us into these wars like Iraq, where we went in and we lost, we killed 1 million Iraqis and lost so many of our own people. People that are dealing, the ones that didn't die are still dealing. We still have vets with PTSD problems and cancer and everything else. Blew a hole in our own, deficit and debt, so that China could just secure the oil contracts. It wasn't even a war for oil. It was a war over stupidity. And that is exactly what we're about to do again in Venezuela. Because we can't even refine the prize that we would take out of there. And I wish I was joking, folks. I want you to Google, I want you to fact check me on everything I just told you. If we go into this war, it will be like Vietnam all over again. You're going to have an enemy that is entrenched, familiar with the territory, well supported by the cartels because you're interfering with their smuggling. An enemy that goes from 20 to 25% popularity to 50% popularity because you invaded their country. And we'll have to stay for decades. We'll have to stay for decades in territory that makes Vietnam look like a picnic. You're talking about on the east side, one more time, we'll go to the map one more time. On the east side, on the west side of Venezuela, you have the Andes Mountains. Enjoy your war in the mountains. And from there, you've got kind of a desertification kind of area where, you've got the major cities of Caracas and Puerto La Cruz. That alone, the urban fighting there is going to be horrible. But then you get to the Orinoco River Valley, which is jungle, solid jungle. And everything south of the Orinoco Valley is jungle. And we're going to try to control this. We're going to take this territory from people that are entrenched, familiar, well armed, used to combat. Is any of this sounding familiar? In order to extract minerals we can't even refine ourselves, that we're just going to hand over to fucking China. They do this every damn time. Fortunately, there is no appetite for this war. There is no appetite for this war. You're seeing our military buck against it. When Trump did that whole announcement, we're closing down their airspace, there was leakage to reporters from our military that said, we're not shutting shit down. We don't have the manpower or the equipment. We have not planned for this. We are not doing that. And they're getting pushback from the military, of all places, because the military is looking at this and saying, oh, no, no. It's one thing if you want to barricade a few ports or you want to sit on friendly territory like Tobago, and that's one thing. But you want me to send my soldiers into that and hold it so that you can mine minerals that you have to give to fucking China anyways? No. And people are waking up to this. People are not okay with this. So Trump's reality TV bullshit is imploding on him. And folks, I got to tell you, the fastest way to stop this, and I want to circle back around, I promised I would circle around to the what do we do about this? Folks, it's not complicated, and it seems counterintuitive, but it's what I always say. If you get involved with your local Democratic Party, how many times have I said that? And you keep the momentum going. This Tuesday, we have an election. Tennessee's 7th district. Afton Bain is up for election in Tennessee's 7th district, in a district that should have been a layup for Republicans. They should have walked away with this district. And after early voting, it is a dead heat. If you can get your people out and flip that district, Trump is done. And let me explain why. So far, the Republicans in Congress have been content to let Trump be the asshole because it ginned up their voters. Your average MAGA person, they're like, woo, let's kill them drug cartels. And they don't have the brain cells to put together. They could not sit through this show like you just did and digest this. They don't have the ability. Those are the people that he's been exciting with this stuff. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Woo, look at ICE go. But that number is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking and shrinking and shrinking with every horrible thing. Every time they show a mom getting ripped away from her children, they show people getting drug out of courthouses. They, just one thing after another. They look at their grocery receipts. They look at their grocery bill receipts. People aren't dumb, and they are losing support. And the Republicans, look, this just happened. One of the most MAGA of MAGA people from here in Texas, of all places. One second. I got one particular picture I'm looking for. I need to find this guy. There he is. There it is. This is Troy Nels. This is Troy Nels. This is going to be a little blurry. But yeah, he walked around the Capitol wearing this shirt. This is how MAGA this guy is. This is Troy Nels. He's not running for re-election. He's calling it quits. He's the latest announcement that's come out from Republicans because they figured it out. They're going to be in the minority after the midterms. And he doesn't want to be here for the investigations. And there are about a dozen more sitting out there right now. Take my word for it, folks. There are at least a dozen more Republicans that are waiting to either quit or not run for re-election. And if you flip Tennessee 7th this Tuesday, it'll be, the dam will break. There will be no denying it. They will absolutely, the rats will flee from the ship. So when I tell you, hey, get involved locally or help elect Afton Bain, people are like, man, that's not sexy. I want take to the streets and force Trump out of office. And yeah, I get it. I get that sentiment. I do. I understand that sentiment. I think everybody here would like to see that happen, but it is not the way forward. You would just feed into exactly what they want. Just like this shooting in DC fed into exactly what they wanted. I've told you over and over again, no violence. You give Democrats control of Congress and let them go to work on the investigations, they will be resigning immediately from this administration. You'll see people like Kash Patel resign. You'll see people like Kristi Noem resign. When the shit they've been doing, the way they've been wasting money gets held up for the American people and they've got to answer to it, these people will jump off the Trump because Trump is old. He is weak. He is a lame duck. He is a lame duck. He's done. He's addled. He's suffering from dementia or I don't know exactly what's going on in that brain, but he can't talk. He couldn't do this show if his life depended on it. So yeah, folks, this isn't hard. And the same people are at it again. I've had people threaten me, the Gaza bot, saying if our policies going forward in the election isn't 100% about Gaza and transgender rights, they're not going to show up. They're not going to vote. Fuck us. And then I've had the other people that are just hand wringing. They'll never let us vote. Oh my God, they're never going to let us. We're voting already. Tennessee 7th is a dead heat. We're voting already. The last election, they said the same thing. They'll never let us vote again. It's over. We voted. We won. And we will vote in the midterms and we will win. But it just means doing the work. Tiger Butterfly. They are threatening the Republican voters in that district, and they are putting out false information to Democrats that the day of voting is December 3rd. Yes. I love that you folks are always so far ahead of me. That was what I was going to leave you with. They know they are in trouble because they are openly breaking the law. Veggie Algo, in provable ways. Well, I appreciate you, Veggie. My birthday's coming up, folks. Veggie Algo, thank you. I appreciate it. Folks, they're passing out flyers, like with fingerprints on them, or real flyers, that are telling people that the election day is Wednesday the 3rd instead of Tuesday the 2nd. Now, we're not morons. We know election day is Tuesday. It's Tuesday, this Tuesday. But when you're that desperate that you're willing to stand out there with your face in this day and age where everybody can take a camera and film you and take your flyer with your fingerprints on it and take it to the police and say, look at this crime. This is a felony. That's how desperate they are. They know it's going bad when they're doing that. Mr. Will 73, the Republican rats are jumping ship with full pockets, and we will hold the Trump administration all to account. MAGA is done, and they know it. I will tell you what they do know. We've talked about the concept of filling the space and how there's only so much information people can process at one time. These folks, these Republican rats that are jumping ship, they're counting on that. They know there's going to be so much shit for us to investigate and go after and prosecute and fix and repair that they're counting on the fact that they're going to be a long gone memory and we're never going to get back around to them. And I hate to say this, but they're kind of right. I wish I could tell you this was a bad strategy by Marjorie Taylor Greene, but it's not. It's not. Politically, it's a smart thing to do. Troy Nell's not running for re-election. Those guys just getting the hell out of Dodge. Yeah, that's their only play. And it's the smart one. New West Bill, my wife is in a wheelchair. No one will stop her from voting. Just ask her. Amen, brother. Amen. That's what I'm talking about. Well, look, I've got a few minutes left, and I'm sorry we started late. So is there anywhere the dots got put together that this is not about drugs? They're pardoning drug dealers. It's only a small amount of the drugs that go through Venezuela to a market, to Europe and Africa, to a market that isn't our market. The drugs going to New York and Miami are going out of Cartagena in Colombia. They're not being sent through the desert of Venezuela. They're still in the control of the cartels when they leave Cartagena. I mean, this isn't about drugs. It's not. And it's not about oil, because we can't use the oil that's in Venezuela, and the infrastructure is shit there. They can't even sell it themselves right now. Their infrastructure is so bad. They're selling very little oil compared to what they can. And most of the fields are undeveloped, which means we would have to lay the pipelines out to. I don't know if you know how this works. Going into the round table, let me start this discussion while I'm looking for comments and questions that you have. When they drill a well, like out here in East Texas, they drill a well, sure. But then that well does a U-turn and goes right back into the ground. And then that well runs to a pipeline that's not that far away. And they pump it directly into the pipeline. They pump that crude directly into the pipeline. That's usually how it works. None of that infrastructure exists in the Venezuela oil fields. They are raw and undeveloped. They don't even have freaking highways out to where most of it is at to move the trucks, to move the equipment. I mean, moving a drilling rig is no small feat. You need infrastructure to do that. Drilling rigs take a lot, man. You're talking about tractor trailer trucks worth of equipment showing up. And it's not there. It's not about the oil. It's not. I mean, for the people that aren't you, that's a great talking point. That's not a hard one. You know, somebody that's a plumber, baker, construction worker, whatever, that's not deep into the politics, just tell them, they're after the oil. Okay, but that's not for you. You people are the thinkers. You can consume things. You can think beyond and understand the big picture to know we're not going to get shit out of that oil. It's not about the oil. It's about the rare earth minerals. It's about the rare earth minerals. That's what this is about. Trump needs a win. He thinks, I'll take down Maduro. That'll save me. Nothing's going to save him. Folks, next month, we see the release of the Epstein files. One or two things is going to happen. Trump's name is going to be, they're going to follow the law and they're going to unredact everything, which is what the law says they have to do. She's been bothering me the whole show. She is, I don't know. Anyways, they'll either produce the Epstein files next month unredacted, which is what the law requires, or Trump's name will be conspicuously absent from the Epstein files. It will. One of those two things is going to happen. One of those two things is going to happen. And neither one is good for Trump. I mean, he is already a lame duck. I mean, we can see the health issues. We can see the fact that he sleeps late and ends work. This weekend, he did no work. He did no work. He's just petered out. And the Epstein files coming out in December are going to be the nail in the coffin. Either way, I mean, do you understand what I'm saying? People are like, well, he'll just redact his name and this, that, and the other. That's no better. That's no better because we know he's there and it'll be conspicuously absent, which will cause people to question and question and question, and they will beat it to death and it will drip out. You know, people say, well, no, I know he was there for this and I know he was there for that. And the witnesses will come out and it will just be the entire rest of his administration. And the Democrats will just sit there and beat him about the head and shoulders with a political club. And I'm not talking about literal violence there. I'm talking about politically. Mr. Newton in the House, transgender rights is not something you want to push if you want to win seats. Focus on affordability and health care. Once Democrats are in power, they can fix all the bad policy of the Republicans. I agree with you 100%. I support transgender rights fully. I do. But if we make it that our talking points, or we allow the Republicans to make that our talking points, we will lose those people that we have to have on the fringes to win. We will. We will drive people out of the voting booth. We just will. Is it right? No. Does it suck for our transgender brothers and sisters? Yeah, it does. But win the damn offices, then you can do the right thing. Thomas Keene, 5723. Admittedly, oil was my guess after seeing the parallels of the fake drug story going to the fake WMD story in the Middle East. Good catch there. Good catch, because they are almost perfectly parallel. Appreciate the correction. Always looking for more information. Hey, I'm not calling anybody out. I mean, who among us that hasn't sat here and done the research on it knows the condition and the kind of oil that's going to come out of the ground after we're done. Nobody knows that shit. So just the oil makes sense. It just makes sense. These people are greedy. Why would that not be it? But I'm telling you, that's not it. It's not it. Which makes it even worse because we're going to have to maintain and protect mining operations deep into the Andes in Venezuela, and that's going to be a nightmare. That's going to be a nightmare. MJ Daniel 8710. The election needs to be about how badly the Republicans are fucking the economy. The average American and national security people are poorer and less safe. Amen, brother MJ. Amen. Hallelujah. Can I get a hallelujah? Can I get a hallelujah? Amen. Amen. That's why I love you people. See, this is the mistake that we made last time. And I've apologized for it and apologized for it and apologized for it. In the last election, we got a high on our own supply. Yeah, we're going to fight for this and we're going to do that and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And we forgot that we're not just talking to each other, but we've got to talk to people that are not us. We got to talk to the monster truck crowd. You know, I had a guy that just, what he wanted to do, you are driving me crazy, Kat. You really are. I had a guy that came at me so hard on Instagram, just post after post after post after post, who was intensely angry because he wanted me to talk about guns when we were talking about the DC shooting. And I was beating the shit out of Trump over their mistakes in that. I was asking the question, what did you do? What did you do that took a guy that saved American lives, fought to save American lives? He was part of the Zero Unit, fought to save American lives, fought with American soldiers, immigrated to the United States of America. What did you do to that man that made him take American soldiers' lives? What changed? What did you do, Trump? What did you do? And in the middle of that, I got this guy, guns, talk about 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 guns, would not stop. I had to block the guy. I had to block the guy. Folks, we can't fall into that. We can't. We can't. If we run on guns, we're running on what the Republicans want us to run on, and we lose. And I'm loving the fact that people are so damn smart that they're figuring this out. They're figuring this out. Can somebody kick this asshole out of here permanently? This guy's an idiot. This guy's an idiot. Has no clue what it means to be transgender. No clue. No clue. And has no clue that it's your white middle-aged Republican pastors that are a danger to kids, not transgender people. You go watch. You go look at the news stories. Go look at the news stories. There was one that I was going to show you last week. I could look it up. Another damn Republican, MAGA Republican / pastor, got busted with horrific child porn all over his computer. It's not transgender, people. You don't even know what being transgender is. You have no idea. You're like, what's a woman? Well, I can tell you what a woman is. Can you tell me what a transgender person is? Can you tell me what a transgender person is? No, you can't, because you're a dumbass. You're looking for something where you can talk, where you think you're better than people, and you're not. I will say it again. I've said it before, but it's worth saying again. I support transgender rights, and I know what transgender people are. If you are born with a mind that is, and it's always the male to female that bothers them. It is. Republicans are all over the male to female transition. That's what it is. Mr. Sunshine, thank you for being here, sir. Love this show. I'm glad to see our European audience here. So glad to see you. Glad to see our Danish folks here, our Norwegian folks here, Australian folks, African folks. Glad to see you here. Glad to see you here. But if you're born and your mind has the construct of a female, because this is what controls your sexuality. It controls your self-image, it controls your sexuality, and controls your desire. None of that comes from your parts. None of it. None of it is controlled by. We joke about, the little brain, but there ain't no brain down there. It's all in here. And it happens, folks. It happens both ways. I showed you American heroes serving. Jeremy Ireland. Badass, man. Looked like he whipped my ass 7 days a week and twice on Sunday. Big, beefed up dude. He was born with the mind of a man and the body of a woman. And he fixed that. That's what being transgender is, man. Reproduction is not a Xerox machine. Just because you're given an X and a Y chromosome or 2X chromosome doesn't mean that what forms up here matches that perfectly. What if you are? Exactly. It's been around for so long. First people called them two spirits. I mean, this has been around forever. When that happens, what are we going to do? You're just going to bully that person until they commit suicide? Because that seems to be the MAGA plan. Make their lives so awful. The Democratic plan is, hey, I got an idea. Let's just treat these people like people. Let them contribute to society, and many of them contribute in incredible ways. But it's not, bingo. There you go. There you go. It's not a campaign issue. It's not. It's not. It affects an incredibly small number of people. Way too many people don't understand those basic points that I just explained to you. So you're having the conversation that the Republicans want to have. I'm not betraying my transgender brothers and sisters by saying, I'm sorry, guys, but you're not going to be what I run on. I will help you when I have power, but you are not what I'm going to run on. I'm not betraying them. In fact, I'm ensuring that I can help them by winning elections. Joe Emily. Thank you, Paul. Going from a 50-year-old white guy who lived life by that and becoming a 50-year-old something divorced woman is not a step up in America. Top of the heap to the bottom of the ladder, rapido. Yeah, it's, and that's the part I don't get. I don't get. Life's, you know what? If you're born a straight white man in the United States of America, I'm going to give it to you. Life's hard. It's hard. It is. And that's the part that seems to short circuit them, is they're like, but my life is hard. Okay. Everybody's life is hard. Yours just doesn't face the same problems that everybody else's faces. Imagine all the shit you went through, MAGA white guy. All the shit you say is hard. Now add on top of it, you're born transgender. or you're born gay, or you're born a person of color, and all the shit that they have to deal with on top of your idea of what's hard. I can't understand, granted, maybe it's because I've matured and I know things and I've seen people, but I look at my life like, okay, man, that was rough, but man, whew, these people are having a real hard time. Maybe I shouldn't make it even harder for them. Maybe I should do what I can to make it easier for them. Bingo. There you go. Or you're born a woman. Yeah. The shit women put up. I'm not going to lie, folks. I'd like to tell you that I understand and I can look at the issues that women deal with and say, oh, that's bullshit. But I have no idea how it feels because I've never had to put up with that shit. And I don't get it. Stop pissing in other people's soup. Work with it. This is the cornerstone of my religion, man. We are all in this together. We are a society. We are human beings. Help everybody achieve the best they can, and they will give the best that they have back to your society. That's what I believe in my soul. We all do better when we all do better. And you do better because they do better because you weren't a bigoted asshole to them. Chaz Bono survives. Chandra Patton, thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. They don't even know who Chaz Bono is. They don't. These are some ignorant people. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Just look at our president and the way he acts towards women, Silly Bebo. Y'all put up with a lot of shit, and I can understand that. Does that mean that me as a straight white guy didn't have a hard life? No, I did. A lot of it was self-created because I was a dumbass when I was a kid. People ask that question all the time, and I don't even take a second to answer it. They're like, if you could go back, no. Wait, let me finish. If you could go back and you could know what you could do it all again, but you don't get to know everything. No, I was a freaking dumbass when I was a kid. And those lessons hurt. No, I would never go back to being the young dumbass I was. And don't get me wrong, I'm not hating on you young people. I'm not. You're just going to love yourself a lot more in a few decades. You really are. E-biker 92. Yeah, me too sometimes, man. Me too. Mrs. Texas Paul will turn to me. She'll look at me and she'll shake her head and she'll say, I really thought we were a lot farther along in your training than this. She's hard, man. She is hard. Oh, wow, you're still going. Sorry, I needed to sleep. Yeah, it was a long show, and I do apologize. We started late. I do apologize. And I do apologize if we ran over anybody's show. I do apologize for that, too. But you folks, you're the reason we're here, man. You're the reason we're here. New West Bill. Women are smarter, stronger, better at everything humbly from a man. That reminds me, have y'all seen that clip about the two guys on Family Feud? And he reads the question, what oh my God, this is hilarious. If your wife was one of the 7 dwarves, which dwarf would she be? And the first guy, they show the camera on, he's like, mm-mm, mm-mm. And the guy across from him is like, no, I'm not answering. They both look at Steve Harvey, and Steve Harvey's looking at them like, ain't somebody going to hit the button? Hell no, I'm not hitting that button. No, you need to ask another question. because I'm not answering that question for anything. That is one of my favorite clips. Oh man. Well, look, if y'all have any questions about what I covered, now's the time. If not, we're going to cut it out. We're going to call it and be done. Anybody have anything that we need to talk about? Anything happened while we were in the show? Any questions about what we covered last week? Anything? This is your time. This is roundtable time. Anything it's an ask me anything. Any questions you have, throw them out there, man. I'm embarrassed that took me a day to do. It did. It took me a day to do that. I like it though. I had about 50 iterations of it. I really like this one. Got the fat ankles in it and everything. I want to apologize again. This streaming platform, it has been bulletproof for like 2.5, 3 years. And then they've done tons of upgrades to it. And I don't use 90% of the upgrades they've done. I mean, here, look, watch. One of the upgrades. Let me see if I. There you go. Here's another one. Stuff like that. I mean, I don't use any of that, man. But every time they do an upgrade or a fix or something like that, it wipes out everything. And even worse, when Windows does an upgrade, oh my God, I was freaking out. After the last show, I was doing some work in preparation for the next show. And I was watching some YouTube videos. And I don't remember what it was. It took me into I've got what I call the green screen studio. It's a studio I keep up all the time. This is called a studio, by the way. In the streaming platform, it's called a studio. I have what I call a green screen studio in case somebody that's never done this before wants to get a look at themselves, see what it's like to talk back and forth. It's for guests to come in and practice. I went into that, and I don't remember what I was looking at, but all of a sudden, when I would do the sound, like the intro has music, sounded like the Chipmunks, man. It was sounding like a record player when you used to crank up the speed on it. And it happened in so many programs, and it was from the Windows update. Totally screwed up the sample rate in like a dozen programs, and I ended up having to, just pull my hair out so that I could be ready for this show. Ended up getting it fixed by going to Dell. Talking to Dell, by the way, they're not cheap, but the customer service is next level. It really is. I'm a shout out to Dell. They are not cheap, but the customer service is fantastic. We ran a patch through, everything started working until I tried to get my camera to work today. Wouldn't happen. Would not happen. I ended up having to close the studio for today's show, recreate another studio, go back and cancel the live everywhere from the old one and start the new one. It was just, I do apologize for that. I really do. I do apologize for that. I should have this shit wired down. I should contract with clients and services that are spot on and nail it every time. You people deserve that respect. And I am going to look into a new streaming platform. I am. If they can't be any more reliable than this, that's it. I'm done. Well, I've kind of been looking at the comments. Bahamut 32007, start gathering evidence for the inevitable investigations, pass legislation to help the American people, and shame those in the Senate for not bringing the bills to the floor. This is something that Democrats are already working on. I promise you. I promise you. This is literally what they're doing. This is literally what they're doing right now. People are like, what are Democrats doing? I said, I promise you, they are working on investigations. When we take power back, it's going to be like, you're going to all over the place. We don't need no stinking upgrades. I know, Chandler Patton. I'm telling you, it's like, stop trying to fix shit that ain't broken. Everything's working right now. Why you got to upgrade shit? Stop it. Stop it. Well, look, folks, I appreciate you. That's what I had for you today. Doesn't seem to be any more questions. Maybe I got it covered right. Yay. I appreciate you being here. And on that note, enjoy some Texas cities at night. Please don't sound like the chipmunks. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I saw somebody that said I didn't answer their question. I read your chat. I read it all the time, but that one slipped by me. I do apologize. What was your question? What was your question? KPKP 2655. Put your question up again and I will answer it before we go. I'm here for you folks. I really am. When I say I have a round table and I'm here to answer your question, I'm looking at Restream closely. Silly Bebo, I am. Silly Bebo, I'm looking at it. Silly Bebo, I am really looking at that. KPKP, what was your question that I missed? There's no way for me to scroll back and get it, so you're just going to have to punch it in again. And I told you, I'm here for you. If you'll ask the question, I'll answer it, and I didn't. They may have left. They may have left. Email me the question. I will answer it. I will answer it. Great question. Great question. Should have been on sale already. Folks, if I find some cowbell, I'm not kidding. I'm going to be all over that sound effect. All right. Well, I don't see KPKP's question in here. I've asked him to put it up again. Email it to me. When I say I'm here for a round table, I'm here for it. Enjoy some Texas cities at night, and this time I'm gone.